I wish good evening for all the participants. Today, our subject matter for discussion, rather, we will discuss democracy. Not just democracy, it has been further qualified with the term modern democracy. Indeed, I understand democracy itself a modern phenomena. It is a political phenomena which came in the recent history out of the womb of Great Britain. We can start it from the time of new monarchy started there. That is, monarchy, when limited, controlled by the people, the subjects, and the subject came in front of the governing camp with the declaration of Magna Carta 1215 that was signed between the peasantry of England and King John. But here, in the context of Indian history, Indian political history is a very peculiar history, what Karl Marx has stated, that India has no history at all. Its history is successive defeat by the foreign invaders, one after another. So the question of democracy didn't arise here. And now, when the democratic history starts, we find it is the British period. So Indian historians have divided the part of Indian history in different sections: ancient Indian history, medieval Indian history, and modern Indian history. In the beginning of modern Indian history, we don't find this democracy. It was ruled by the company servants, East India Company, of which even Empress Queen was a shareholder. So in the beginning, it was nothing to be stated to have had any democratic phenomena in the governance or ruling of the country for about 90 years at least, because it started from Battle of Palasi, June 1757. But there was no democratic point. Subjects were just means of production, whosoever may be, the Brahmins and Muslims, Shudras and untouchables, all in the same category of British subjects, slaves. Vanquished people and vanquished nation. However, Great Britain or the East India Company soldiers never invaded India. They attacked from within, that is Murshidabad, the capital of Nawab Shiraudullah, from Calcutta, Fort William. So there is no question of invasion. Whatever. The British period, we can't say it is a modern period. I don't call it, and I don't think it can be defined as a modern period, because modernity depends not on time, not on geographic boundary or cultural affair. Modernity in India, I would call, starts with the transition from bullet to ballot. This is a fundamental change that took place in 1882, the year when the father of self-government, sixth Viceroy, Lord Ripon, declared the starting of self-government at the lower level of governance. He declared that the people of the state, the taxpayers, will vote. Mostly Shudras, agriculturists, and untouchables of Bengal rural area. These taxpayers will vote and elect their representative in the local self-government. Declaration of 1882. These shifting or transition, I mean to say the starting of the democratic or the modernity. Before that, I don't find anything. I feel if anybody look into the matter deeply will understand it. That whatever administration, whatever culture, and whatever cottage industry and other small industries were going on, the economy and everything is almost the same. That agriculture, that commercial activities, there was no change. Culturally, there was no change. That we say that the starting of the British period from 1757 starts the modern period. No, modern period starts with this modernity in the field of administration, in the field of bureaucracy, in the field of political democracy. The subjects were, this is for the first time in the history of India, the subjects were given the franchise right. So, what we call the Dalit empowerment, Dalits of rural Bengal during those days was empowered with enfranchisement. They had the voting right to elect either himself, I mean to say themselves, or they send their representative by casting their votes or the ballot in favor. So no more. It was king or queen. It came from the grassroots level. Suffrage became the most powerful weapon for governance of the country. One is to reach to the position to hold the wheel of instrumentalities of state. That was the starting point. What the French Revolution declared that government, the democracy, will be a government where the subjects or the ruled people will control the governance of the country. So, in India, this transition from bullet to ballot or ballot box starts the modernity. So, this democracy is modern. The British democracy is not a modern product. That is why there was a revolt in America, a revolt in France. They guillotined their emperor. He was driven out from the French. And the War of Independence, steep battle. The battle was so severe and the death was so numerous that even French hero Lafayette had to come and join hands with George Washington to win the battle and establish the Philadelphia Written Constitution by 53 demigods. And the Constitution of Republic of United States of America came the democracy. So what appended in the terms of reference today that war, the doubt of war and nuclear war and atomic war or atomic power, they may pose a threat to the democracy, not necessarily. The atomic power and the military power and the strength of a country, the nation, does not go necessarily anti-democratic. On the contrary, we can see in France and in America, it is the bayonet which established not the Queen's democracy, not the bureaucratic democracy, people's democracy. However, we see in history that also that these bayonets turn to be anti-democratic when we find that Corsican little corporal Napoleon Bonaparte, who is regarded as the child of French Revolution, he himself became the emperor of Europe. He even appointed his brothers as king in many of the countries of Europe. So, the weapon is a weapon. Atomic power is a power. Now, it is we who are to use it, whether to establish democracy or to dwindle down democracy. Because democracy is a rule by the people. Dr. Ambedkar has in one place said, though never repeated this dangerous column that democracy is a form of government where governing class fails to capture power. That is, when like after Russian Revolution 1917, the people of Russia under the leadership of Comrade Lenin captured the power, the ruling class, the Tsars, etc., had to go back behind the curtain. So this is the rule by the people. What in India that Viceroy Lord Ripon dreamed. Let the country be ruled by the people. Let the rulers take their birth out of the ballot boxes, not from a family, not from any dynasty. So neither monarchy nor oligarchy. But what today's point of reference, adding that wars and atomic power as becoming threat for the world peace and democracy. Not only it is becoming threat against democracy, even where the kingship or any other type of government continuing these atomic weapons and aggrandizement of power and military strength is becoming a threat today. It is not just democracy. It is connected with the entire civilization. Even those who are flexing their muscles with nuclear weapons and battling, be it in Saudi Arabia or Ukraine side, Middle East or Eastern Russia, it is very dangerous. Not just for democracy, they are democratic country. Russia is a people's democracy. That all people there are equal. Not like India, that somebody is having so much wealth and others are not getting food even to their subsistence level. So that democratic country is appears to be a threat for other democratic countries. So it is not the democratic atomic power, atomic energy that is getting anti-democratic. Now, otherwise, democracy gave all political rights, out of which other rights emerges. That Declaration of 1882 franchised to the people who had experienced never any governing or governance. They were made free, that you are free to rule, govern your own society and administration up to this level, which was later on extended up to the parliamentary level. So when India was free in 1947, even before that, from Bengal, Mr. J.N. Mandal, Advocate J.N. Mandal, Jagannath Mandal, a poor boy from Barishal district, a local pleader, could become law minister, first law minister of undivided India during Jawaharlal Nehru's interim government. Previously, he was 2-3 times ministers in Bengal government under Suravardi Prime Minister or under Najimuddin Prime Minister. So this is a system which gives everybody, even poorest of the poor, even the untouchable Jagjivan Ram and many others, to decorate the supreme position and enjoy free life. So this democracy is a thing which we dreamed, but there is a big but that we are not having democracy. India, I consider, it is it is it is said, and it is very fancifully declared that this is the largest democracy in the world. No, I call it largest votocracy in the world. Maximum vote there. The number of votes no country can surpass. But is there any democratic symptoms and signs here? No. The common people, the 90% population, who are playing the role of mere hands, mere means of production, laboring, producing class, they are not getting their representation in the wheel of governance. And, and that is not unknown to the historians and politicians. Dr. Ambedkar, after writing the Constitution, the last day in the Constituent Assembly, he gave Thanksgiving lecture for more than 1.5 hours. There he declared his failure. That in 1950, we will be entering into the land of contradiction. We will have political equality, but neither social nor economic equality. And he said, without this social equality and economic equal power, democracy will be in peril. There in that August hall, he declared it. And indeed, that one man, one vote, and one value, without this economic equality or opportunity for economic equality and social equality, this one man, one value, and one man produced no meaning, he declared. Once, when he was countered by Multraj Anand, he agreed, yes, I have failed because Constitution gives a right to property, not any right to employment. So those who are not having or enjoying their paternal property, so those big inheritors will consume and capture and monopolize everything. And so, as for this constitution, all untouchables, a big section of Muslims and big section of Hindus, the Shudras, etc., they have become reduced to mere proletariat. These are accepted. Even in 1942, he declared that be aware of parliamentary democracy, which is not a good government. It is a failure. Failure, why? Because of that social inequality prevailing, that is the caste system. So he said, because of this system, democracy, even though so beautiful structure, has failed to produce the expected result. So this is not due to the barrels of guns, be it atomic or AK-47, or more superior weapons. This is the social condition. That is why we can discuss the constitution and caste. Caste is a system I won't discuss much today, which denies equal treatment. Its vertebra is a one-way downward hatred, and discrimination on the basis of this is not illegal. But Ambedkar wanted annihilation of caste, but while he drafted the constitution, he never incorporated any article stating that caste is abolished, or we the Indian stand without caste system. He had written that untouchability is abolished. Untouchability is nothing but the product of that tree. By maintaining the tree, you cannot altogether wipe out the fruits. So, constitution and democracy, we can say in case of India. So, the failure of democracy, and today you have selected the word modern democracy, and I feel today it has become supramodern democracy. Not only oligarchy, all newspapers are discussing Indian democracy is destroyed, it is drifting towards plutocracy. That is only a few 100 or 200 tycoons of money bag holders have purchased everything, every vote, every group, every caste, and they are controlling. And this is in the name of the people, by the tycoons, and for the tycoons. So here our discussion should have been on that point, not atomic powers and words. Rather, we need to start war saving democracy from these negative aspects. Then that can be faced as a capital versus democracy. Country's capital in most of the countries is accumulated by a few groups. And the result we have seen in last American election, that hand in gloves up Mr. Trump and Elon Musk all of a sudden changed the scenario of election in America. So it is the capital which will destroy all avenues for a fair democratic advance or the people's liberty. So is the case of demography versus democracy. Demography and democracy are very related. One is the concomitant of the other. Because what Manevar Kashiram said, जिसकी जितना शंखा भारी उसकी उतना भागीदारी. The Dalit people, Bahujan Samaj, is having 90% of the total vote. So they should be the ruler, they should be the governors of the country. But this capital and other caste factors in India will just eliminate or annihilate all chances of majority of the demographic majority. Even being minority, the government today, entire parliament belongs to that tycoon groups. They can declare that this group or that group will not be given voting right. As Lord Ripon once upon a time bestowed voting right, enfranchisement, now they can be disenfranchised. All people, innumerable number, they can be disenfranchised. As already we find that people, not persona non grata, the Dalits, untouchables of Eastern Bengal, when they became difficult to control, they were becoming Jagannath Mandal or Jaganali Mullah. So today they have become non-citizen in Indian territory. CAA is there for enfranchisement, and they were ejected out of the country by declaring the part Pakistan. And western side, the same thing was Mr. Banguram led the untouchables, they became indomitable and a threat to the Brahminical system. So this Punjab and Bengal people disenfranchised by throwing them out. Even today, many more such things the ruling class, the powerful class can implement. So we have to understand the demography and democracy, and that is why uh, uh, our Mukherjee, Shama Prasad Mukherjee, stopped the caste-based census. Only Hindus and others. No caste will be mentioned in the census. That is why 1931 census became the last census. So, rather, I think that we need to think over and continue many more discussions on these points. We can discuss half an hour only on demography versus democracy, only on capital versus democracy, and only other on constitution, caste constitution, because our constitution, government of India, remains a caste constitution. So caste constitution versus democracy. What Dr. Ambedkar declared, that caste system is does not fit to democracy because it does not recognize equality between one and other. I think today we can stop here. Thank you very much. Thank you all.